The next part of our web page that we're going to build is I'm going to build an off-canvas section, and when the user clicks the Join Us button, we're going to have this slide in from the left-hand side of the page. Off-canvas is a feature of Bootstrap 5, and it is a sidebar component that can be toggled to appear or disappear depending on what you use as a trigger. You can attach the triggers to specific elements like buttons or anchor links. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my Join Us button to be the trigger for the off-canvas section. So we'll come into our code and we'll find the off-canvas button, and all we need to do is add some additional attributes to this. The first one is going to be the data-bs-toggle attribute. I'm going to make this equal to off-canvas. Then we need to add the data-bs-target, and this is going to be equal to the ID of the off-canvas element. So I'm going to be calling mine join signup. In addition to that, we're going to give this ARIA controls, and this will be set to off-canvas signup. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to build the off-canvas section. I'll just do this underneath my header. The location of this does not really matter so much in your HTML, since this is something that will ultimately be hidden until the button triggers it. We'll start off by creating a section. The section is going to have a class of off-canvas, as well as a class of off-canvas start. In addition, I'm going to give this an ARIA labeled by, and we'll give this a value of join label. Inside the section, I'm going to make a div with a class of off-canvas header, and inside this div, we will create an h5. This is going to have a class of off-canvas title, and in addition, this needs to have an ID that matches the ARIA labeled by value that we just created above. I'll go ahead and populate the h5 with my text. Then we need to create a button that will be used to close the off-canvas section. This needs to have a class of btn-close. We need to set the type to button, and we need to add an attribute of data-bs-dismiss, and we'll set that equal to off-canvas. And then I'm going to give this an ARIA label equal to close. After we've completed the off-canvas header, we're going to create another div, which will be the off-canvas body. I'll create a couple paragraphs here and enter some text. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new form element. This is going to have a class of mb-2, and inside this form, we're going to have some form fields. This form is going to be a little bit different because I'm going to incorporate floating labels. Floating labels are a method of displaying the labels that actually appear within the form field, and it looks as if they are just hovering in a smaller bit of text inside of the form field. This is a really clean way to create forms, and I think it's going to work well in this off-canvas form where we don't want to have to take up too much real estate. This will kind of condense everything down. Each of my form fields is going to reside inside of a div with a class of form-floating, and I'm also adding some margin on the bottom to these divs. The next thing that I need to do is I need to create my input and label elements. When you're creating the floating labels, it's important that you create the input field first and then the label. So this is a little bit different from how we created the previous form that we used on our page. The input fields need to have a class of form control, and for the first one we will be using a text type, and then I'm going to give this an ID, and this will be called join name. The IDs need to be unique, so I can't just use fname like I used in my previous form, since I'm already using that ID in a different location on my page. Then I'm going to go ahead and create my label, and the label just has a for attribute that needs to match that ID that I just created, and then we'll go ahead and enter the text that we want to display. I'm going to do the same sort of thing for an email and a phone number field. I'll just go ahead and create those as well. The only difference for the email is I'm changing the type to email. I've assigned a unique ID, and the label is going to have an ID value for 4 that matches the ID. We'll do that one more time for a telephone number. And then finally, I'm going to create a button so that the user can submit this form field. This is going to have a class of btn and btn-info to style the color of the button, along with text light to make the text light. We're going to give this a type attribute of submit. And finally, I'm going to put the text that I want to display. The final thing that I need to add in order to make this work is I need to tie in the databs target of join signup with this particular off-canvas element. So I'm going to come back to my section and we're going to give this an ID that matches that value, join signup in this case. I'll save my page. And if we refresh and we click our Join Us button, you can see that this off-canvas element is going to slide in. The rest of the page slightly dims out. You'll notice that my form looks a little bit different. So I can click in these fields and the label is going to be part of the input field rather than hovering above it. You can see how this saves a little bit of real estate and provides a clean interface. If I want to close the off-canvas section, I can click the close button right here, and I can see that that's not working, so I might have a little error in my code. We'll go look at that in a second. Another way that you can close the off-canvas area is just to click away from it and it slides in, but let's find out where our close button is not working. I see it. I wrote data-bs instead of data-bs. Let's make that small change and save. If we refresh and click Join Us, you can see this slides in. We could do whatever we're being asked to do here, and if we click this little X, it will close that area. As you can see, off-canvas is a great way to have other information be carefully tucked away and out of the main section of the page until the user actually needs it. In addition to that, we have used an alternate feature of displaying our form fields by using this floating label technique. I hope you liked it.